Yeah, a warm welcome to ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to all of you from TeamLease Digital. We're excited to invite you for a topic on digital budget and the future of technology. Uh, I've got two allied panelists with about close to about 60 man-years of experience with me. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Dr. Ajay Ganguly, Director of Medical Services, Apollo Health and Lifestyle Limited. Mr. Ajay comes with over 3 decades of experience in various clinical and leadership roles in healthcare organizations. In the present assignment, he's a director at Medical Services with Apollo Health and Lifestyle Limited. In his previous assignments, he has served with Jaslok Hospitals, Reliance Foundations, Asian Heart Institute of uh, in Mumbai. He's also served over 2 decades in the Indian Army in various clinical and administrative positions, and also been in the in past few organizations. He's also involved in operational management, hospital management, and recruitment activities. Uh, He's been organizing major events and participated in Commonwealth Youth Games, World Military Games, as well as provision of healthcare in foreign country. He has done his graduation from the Armed Forces of Medical College, Pune, and has done his master's in hospital administration. His major areas of interest are in concept of team care, hospital management, quality improvement, competency mapping, and change management. His hobbies include reading, sports, and music. He's an avid reader, and his favorite quotes are, "It is amazing what can be achieved when it does not matter who gets the credit. What are we? We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." A warm welcome to Dr. Ajay. Next, I've got on our panelist, Mr. Balaji Vishwanathan. He's a managing director and CEO of 𝒂𝒈𝒊𝒈𝒂𝒏𝒅 Solutions and 𝒂𝒂𝒈𝒊𝒈𝒂𝒂 Group. He's got close to about 3 decades of experience, which includes market research, field sales, and evening college. Mr. Balaji has been with banking and private credit card industry for over 16 years and with technology and process outsourcing for over a decade. He had played key pivotal roles for about 12 plus years in developing two startup banks, HDFC Bank and Ace Bank, and 3 years with the global payment franchise MasterCard, supporting their operations and technology for our South Asian market. In the tech and process outsourcing industry, he's been associated with IBM Dutch, later acquired by Concentrix. For 9 years, he's been involved in pre-sales, global delivery in the BFSI sector. He's also held global and regional leadership positions and responsible for setting up process systems in the retail banking and in commercial banking, credit cards, risk management, customer management, technology, and process outsourcing. In a nutshell, Mr. Balaji is a technology enthusiastic and keen in understanding the business application of technology. In the recent accolades, Mr. Balaji has been certified in automation using open source, data science, big data, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. He's been recognized as Asia's most promising business leader by Economic Times and also been inducted into the Economic Times Leadership Council. A warm welcome, Mr. Balaji, to you as well. Before we start off the webinar, very interesting quotes I've been seeing from the markets where we are talking about the IT industry moving from 5 million to 10 million jobs, and with the super cycles of digitizations across industries, across IT industries, across different verticals. How do you think the technology is going to evolve? My first question to Mr. Balaji here.
See, technology, like what you mentioned, it's a constant change, and that's what is more exciting as well. It's never been the same. What you saw 5 years back and what you see now is not the same, and what you saw 10 years back, or rather when we started our careers to where it is right now, it's a complete sea change. From the focus of being everything centralized, everything being controlled, to something which is more decentralized, more flexible, given more customization and personalization to clients and other stuff. So, in my opinion, the most important element to adapt to the technology evolution is we being nimble and we being flexible and ability to adapt to any of these new technologies as well. So the way I look at how the technologies are going to evolve, the most important element will be that there will be more power in the hands of the customer. There will be more power in the hands of the people who are using it, rather than the ones who are actually only developing it. And the amount of flexibility and agility that you could actually show, in terms of rollout and in terms of managing the data, with thanks to COVID, I think some of these acceleration has really been fast forwarded. I still remember, at least in the banking and financial services industry, and many of these other so-called controlled industries, there was always an hesitation of moving, data outside of the network, going into cloud. But look at what happened in the last 2 years, the kind of acceleration that we have seen in whether it's cloud adoption or more the globalization, as what we would call it as, in terms of both data management and the customer experience management, has been phenomenal. And while probably the pandemic or the situation around the pandemic forced us to do some of these elements, that's now that has become the new normal. The way I see it evolving is, the companies which are more agile, more flexible, more nimble, and who are ready to, not control, their products or, the flexibility of that particular product is what is going to thrive going forward.
I'll hold there. Mr. Ajay, you come from a very different industry. Before we actually get into the actual question and answers, if you can extend this in terms of how technology is going to play in the healthcare industry,
Sure. The healthcare industry, actually, the whole ecosystem works on a very in-depth knowledge and application of research, which is based on very customized output. The alignment of most healthcare workers is towards diagnosing and prognosis of cases. Now, where IT works with healthcare, the use is obviously evolving. We are seeing that, and like Balaji mentioned, I mean, the kind of advances we've seen in the past few years has been astounding. And with the pandemic, the way vaccines were produced in such a short period of time actually shows the real value where this technology is going to bring to healthcare. Historically,
I'll hold you there.
Sure.
Having said that, now that both of you are in sync, which says that technology is going to play a major role either in IT or in other industry. My first question goes to Mr. Balaji. How are IT services or products going to play a major role in the respective domain or in the industry?
Sorry, I was talking on mute. The way I look at it is that, we don't really have, in the earlier days, at least in the industry that I come from, the earlier days, everything used to be like, the product is only one element, and there was a lot of applications. If I look at even our own banks, of course, the legacy of other international banks are even more challenging and complex. Even within India, there used to be so many satellite systems, so many subsystems. The core systems was not giving what the customers wanted or what the banks wanted. Everybody was building their own customization. Everybody was building their own apps and subsystems and all those connections which were not in sync. And I'm sure all of us would have experienced seeing one balance in the ATM and one balance in the bank branch and one balance in your mobile, and you really couldn't figure out which one is right. Sometimes the transaction getting declined, sometimes the transaction going through. Couldn't really figure out many of those disparities, so to say. Going forward, I think the most important element is like what I mentioned in the initial phase as well. While the products or whatever the technology products which are being developed will give a framework, the most important element will be the open banking. So there are many new terminologies, but it is primarily around how well you are able to connect to the satellite systems and how well you are able to take the control to the customer in terms of how they are operating, whether it's through APIs or whether it's through low code, no code kind of platforms, which will actually enable you to roll out your products and services much faster. The core will still be there, but the core will primarily, the way I'm looking at it is the core will primarily evolve to be more stability and a record of, book of record or system of records, and all the other flexibility of how you provide your customer experience. It's going to be defined by all the other, nimbleness and agility that you could show, through API connectors and the open banking protocols.
can I safely make that statement which says that technology will be very specific to respective industry, respective domain? So in continuation, before I jump to the question with Mr. Dr. Ajay, my next question to you, Balaji, in continuation, what we are seeing today, the IT industry doubling up. We have done our digital employment report. There are reports from various industry bodies which says that the jobs are, and as I said before the start of the webinar, our jobs are going to double. The IT jobs, which are 5 million, are going to go 10 million. But how do you think that the industry is going to fill the gap, or do you think reskilling and upskilling or the demand supply gap, how are they going to meet up?
To your first part of saying that, is it going to be domain specific? I would say that, yeah, there are certain things which has to be domain specific, similar to how you would see in any other industry. There are verticals and then there are horizontals. For example, how do you manage your finance and accounting? How do you manage your people systems? Some of these elements will be on horizontal, which will cut across multiple industries, but there will be a significant amount of domain specific systems and platforms which needs to be catered to, because that's where the business understanding of what the customer wants will come. On the second element of skill gap, I would say that in the last 2 to 3 years, the amount of demand for particularly digital skills, whether it is on development or whether it's on even business analysis, understanding of how the front end works, the UI UX kind of an experience. It's been growing so rapidly, and obviously we don't really have the right amount of supply in the market. And if you look at every other company, if you look at every other technology company, what they're publishing in their annual reports and other stuff, everybody talks about how much of hours the teams have spent on cross-skilling and upskilling. But still there is a gap, and that's a gap which I think will take a while before we are able to fulfill that void of the skill gap. And during this particular journey of trying and fulfilling the skill gap through upskilling and the online platform, because we've gone out those days where we can pull out the team and make them sit in a room and go through a training program and all those kind of stuff. So nowadays everything has to be online, everything has to be in parallel, because we can't afford to have the guys pulled out and then do a specific training, whether it's in bits and pieces. It's the current generation, right? The Zennials actually are looking at consuming in microbytes rather than trying and consuming in gigabytes. So it has to be the 30-minute, 45-minute, 2-hour at best in terms of training capsules or skilling capsules, which is what is going to make the difference. And the kind of exponential growth that you see in the EdTech space is a clear example of that. You go to any tech company, not forget about tech company, any company for that matter. I would say that, if 2.5, 3 years back, if you ask them how many of them have actually subscribed to a online learning portal, to what they have as their individual intranet-based portals. If it was 50% earlier, it will probably be 90% right now.
So I'll pause you for a second there. I would like to come back to Dr. Ajay. Having said that, now Mr. Balaji has been rhetoric, if I can make that statement, saying that the industry is going to be technology driven. There's going to be a lot of interventions with technology across different sectors. But Dr. Ajay, I'm really surprised. Why is that in healthcare? Why is that the IT is not picking up?
A lot of reasons for it. One of the real factors is actually a lot comes down to human factors. So it comes down to people's beliefs, behaviors, attitudes. A lot of IT people and healthcare personnel, I look at it as famous.
I think we're losing you, Dr. Ajay.
Together and understand what exactly is to be something. Hello, can you hear me now?
We're losing you. I think I'll come back to you, Ajay. I think we're losing you, but Mr. Balaji, two elements. One is that there have been a lot of technology interventions, in the healthcare space. It includes artificial intelligence. Today, we are talking about robotic process, RPAs, doing operations. Dr. Ajay, if you're clear with your line, I would still like that answer, which says that why is that the reasons for IT implementation being slow on healthcare? We were losing you, some time back.
Yeah. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Much better.
Okay. Great. Okay. So there are various reasons for it. One, of course, is the factor of human factors which come into play. IT and healthcare actually can be considered as two, standing at two different ends of the earth, and getting them to come together for making the technical magic happen. It's somehow not really happened because I feel a lot of understanding of both sides has not happened. Maybe due to their personal beliefs or behaviors or attitudes or things like that. And as you're aware, IT, like Balaji said, a lot of things are going remotely and things like that. Healthcare will find it very difficult to go remote. It has to be in person. After all, the patient's health is something that's very personal to them. So if you don't have somebody who's right next to you, listening and actually seeing you, collecting of samples for diagnosis, I mean, everything, there's a lot of personal touch and, physical presence that is required for the whole process of healing. So if that whole thought process, that whole mental attitude, the way people look at things is so different. It's one of the reasons that there's always been some kind of barrier where healthcare, understanding of IT in healthcare and implementation of IT projects has always been difficult. The second, of course, is professional barriers due to the nature of the work. I won't go into too much detail on that, but this is one of the things that I've always felt.
I'll come back to a question on specific to what specialties will be affected. But having said that, since Mr. Balaji comes with a lot of experience within the IT industry, if I was to couple this question and come back to Dr. Ajay, do you think IT professionals would need to have expertise in healthcare so that they succeed in the IT industry? I mean, to be very specific, do they require the domain knowledge, or do you think they can survive without the domain knowledge?
I can, if Dr. Ajay, if you're okay, I can probably provide an outside-in view, considering that we support the healthcare industry in other markets, not so much in India. I would say that if you look at the other markets where healthcare is more technology-driven, particularly if you were to take US or some of the European markets like Switzerland and Belgium and others, the technology is not driven by the healthcare professionals themselves. The technology is driven by the service providers, because most of these elements, whether it's the payer services or the provider services, it's all done done as a business and done as an the huge corporations who are actually running it. They need technology, and that they are the ones who are driving the technology changes and the transformation, whether it's in the hands of the doctors who are providing the services or other support services or ancillary services or medical devices. Everything is actually driven by some of these corporations rather than by, I would say, the hospitals, or because the amount of technology that they could provide is probably limited for the technology company or for the payers or the provider services companies. For them, technology is paramount for them to drive the efficiency and make the best out of the buck that they are spending and what they are collecting from their customers.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, while there have been a lot of advancement in the healthcare industry as far as technology is concerned, but I think, Dr. Ajay, coming back to you, there are certainly some specialties which are hit.
Yeah, I'll just Shiv-Prasad, I'll just go ahead with what Balaji mentioned. Yeah. There are various paths where technology has an impact in healthcare. So one is what he mentioned about a lot of the back-end processes, which includes finance and logistics, procurement and things like that. That is I think some place where it has been much easier for us to have implemented IT. So most solutions now are IT based. We no longer have the manual system. And I think this has gone across all industries. It's not only specific to healthcare, where most of these back-end processes have switched to technology-based systems. Devices, of course, we all know what and how important they are. The struggle that has actually happened is because healthcare is a very data-driven and a very data-intensive industry. So the collection of patient data particularly is something where, unfortunately or fortunately, this is something where healthcare workers, doctors and nurses have to be involved. The struggle has been getting this data collection down and the simplification of this data and patient information material and capturing it in a correct format. And this is our main issue, the main
there are a lot of medical processing organizations which does that. Don't you think that they're helpful?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
No, I'm saying that there are a lot of medical processing organizations which does compile patients' data. Do you think that's not useful?
There is a lot of data that actually can indicate what the patient has, what the patient suffers from, can indicate what is going to affect the patient, can indicate, can affect the outcome and prognosis of the treatment of a patient. We, I think at this stage, I will not call it, I'm not very happy with the level at which we are and whether it's us in India or in the US or whatever. We are not at a very satisfactory state as far as this is concerned. For HIS solution or whatever.
Sorry, if I was to continue on the topic, if you want to get to where you are, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're saying that you're on 3 or 4, you want to get to 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Which are the top digital skills do you think that people need to have to scale up on the healthcare industry? I mean, I love Balaji also can take up this question. I'll be more than happy after Dr. Ajay.
From the healthcare perspective or the healthcare, actually the care provider perspective, the whole thing is as to when you are examining, getting patient data into the system. It is the way as to how this can be captured. Secondly, the completeness to make sure that everything that is connected to that patient gets in, and then how it is stored in a format which lends itself for analytics and predictive analysis. Okay, now this is something that right now we don't really have it. And you spoke about a scale of 0 to 10. I still think we are at a low scale there. And the sad thing is that even in the developed world, when they talk about a successful HIS solution implementation, they are still talking of at a 40% or 50% implementation as a success marker. So your benchmarks are very low. Low benchmarks then obviously don't lead to great magic happening, and this is the struggle that is happening all over. There are some countries, in fact, rather than the US, countries like Korea and Singapore and Taiwan, actually, which have done some fantastic work in this. And I think they are possibly showing the way for the rest of the world to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But
Balaji, if you can take that question, I mean, do you second thought of what Dr. Ajay is saying, or you want to still contemplate a different view?
No, I completely agree with what Dr. Ajay is saying. So see, the most important element in any technology is that you need to understand the business. So if you don't understand the business, if you don't understand the nuances of the business, whatever you do, end of the day, it will not reach the end consumer. So, like what Dr. Ajay said, if data is the challenge, or if, if you don't have enough information, because if you look at, whether we do artificial intelligence or trying and doing predictive analytics and other stuff, is all based on the quality of the data. And if the quality of the data is not reliable, and if it is inconsistent, depending upon who is filling it, and if that is, if it becomes very subjective, then obviously, results coming out of it also will have an impact as well. I haven't really gone down that path, at least from supporting in the healthcare industry from our company. But I agree with Dr. Ajay, at least in terms of how you need to apply. It requires a significant amount of business understanding as well.
So now that both the panelists are saying that industry will be driven by a lot of digital skills, they would be, and professionals need to have a lot of domain knowledge. But having said that, I have set up one question which
I just want to qualify that not everybody needs to have a lot of domain knowledge. but the guys who are defining it needs to have the domain knowledge. The guys who are actually going to develop it, it's going to be based on
they need not
how the definition is going to go. So I would say, it has to be there, but it is not all across.
So with the super cycle of digitizations across different industries, I want to break this question into three parts because it's really getting interesting. This question to Mr. Balaji is that which sectors do you think will see a high demand or supply gap?
So if Dr. Ajay is a standing example here, right, saying that where he says that healthcare industry is probably having the biggest demand and there is hardly any supply. If you were to take that as one industry, but apart from that also, you actually have challenges across multiple other industries as well. Financial services, I would say, is probably a lot more advanced, from that perspective, but there is still a significant amount of challenges, primarily around, if you were to look at, the security of many of these financial applications. How do you make sure that, there are no frauds or customers' money is not getting, taken off, and the new generation cryptocurrencies and how those cryptocurrencies are evolving. Each one of them is actually a skill gap. And I would say that every industry certainly has a skill gap. But if I were to look at the ones which have the maximum
skill gap, I'll come back to you, sir, on the next question. But specific to the sectors, where do you think the sectors will see a high demand? One, definitely healthcare is what your second, the thought with Ajay. But which are the other sectors do you think that you will see a high demand? One is BFSI.
It will also depend on the geographies, because not all the geographies are in the same level of maturity. But if I were to look at our side of the continent, that is the India, Asia subcontinent, even to some extent include the other, Eastern European. If you look at it, the primary challenge at this particular point of time would be in the manufacturing and setting up of plans and making sure that the productivity is actually enhanced, the quality is managed. So that is, I think, one area where there has not been so much of technology advancement, apart from, of course, Dr. Ajay's statement of healthcare. The second element would be the second industry would probably be the financial services industry as well. So,
Dr. Ajay, my question to you is that, with Balaji, Mr. Balaji saying that, there would be a lot of what do you call demand supply gap, or, sectors, growing. How do you think, from a basic being a veteran in the medical field, but I would like to ask you a question outside your expertise, but how do you think the professionals need to spend time on with regards to a lot of change of skills that are happening within the industry?
Where healthcare is concerned, I think and specifically IT is concerned, I think we need to skill up. There's no doubt on that. It is going to keep coming in, advances are going to happen, and particularly people who work with diagnostics and in surgical fields will need to look at improvement in a major way. For people in management, patient data, patient records, and the analytics thereof will need skilling up of these roles. I don't see any way out on this. It's something that is going to happen. What he spoke about domain knowledge or expertise, there has to be, like he said, from IT, that people who are the backend writing the code or whatever, they need not have the domain expertise of that particular industry. But there are going to be people on both sides of the industry, whether it's from IT or whether it's from the healthcare, who will need to come together. They will need to have an understanding of each other's industry, because that's the only way you will find that common understanding of what the others can do, and it will give you that little power or ability to explain exactly what is required, which then can result in something great being done. Otherwise, you tend to beat around the bush. You get into a trial and error scenario, and it just delays projects. Every delay that happens tends to lower the motivation or the
So does that
desire
mean
to
that,
change.
does that mean that, I'll break again this question, sorry to interrupt. Uh, uh, See, you are saying that while it's important for professionals to upskill, reskill, Mr. Balaji, you've been running a large group, because of the change of technology, how are you handling this demand supply gap? I want you to spend at least 2 to 3 minutes, because it's very, very, very encouraging for organizations like us to know how are you actually filling this demand supply gap and ensuring business continuity. How are you maintaining the attrition levels? What is that you're telling? I will definitely give you a minute extra, so that it becomes a learning for the participants and for different industry leaders who are there in this webinar.
So I think one thing which the pandemic has taught us, or probably this new business situation has taught us over the last 18 months, is the importance of bridging that skill gap. And the bridging of the skill gap is like, I would say the analogy is like literally refueling the flight when it is actually flying. Maybe Dr. Ajay comes from an army background. They'll probably be able to relate to it easily, because that's something which is done in probably some of the elite Air Force. This one, but you can't refuel a passenger flight when it is actually on a flight. So that's what is happening right now. That's the analogy that I would give for how important it is for us to reskill, for us to keep flying. Because otherwise, the challenge will be that we will become obsolete, or the companies will become obsolete. And the best part is that the teams understand it, the people understand it. It's a question of how well you are able to communicate this aspiration to your teams, making sure that they are motivated enough, and you give them enough tools and incentives for them to upskill themselves. For somebody in the technology industry, people where we are managing the Zennials, so to say, our average age in the company is around 27. So it's only people like me who are actually screwing up that average towards the higher side of 20s. For that particular workforce, or for that particular team to get motivated to skill themselves, that's the paramount importance for us. How well you are able to communicate, how you are able to keep that motivation level up, and make sure that whatever they are learning, you direct them in the skills and technologies that are driven in the market. If you give them an open canvas and say that go learn anything that you want, then obviously it's not going to, you may not really see business applications there. So how well you are able to define what technologies are going to come based on the industries that you're operating, where you want them to learn, and give them enough tools and ability for them to go and learn that, and make sure that you give them both the time and the incentive for them to go and learn that particular element, and follow through on making sure that you are able to give them an opportunity in those technologies that they learned as well. So that's one element of the reskilling piece. The other bigger element is how do you get, because even for you to build some of these technology and skills, you need to get people from outside. It's not that everything will be available with us internally. How you're able to attract the lateral talent, and if you look at how the demand supply bridge is being bridged by most of the technology companies, is through this graduate hiring programs, the campus hiring programs for companies like ours, where we used to hire 50 people, 100 people in a year. Right now we are talking about 1,000 and 1,200 people in a year. The larger companies are hiring at 40,000 and 50,000 people from campuses. How you are able to work with the academia in making sure that you get the right kind of curriculum, provide.
So that's a very interesting analogy that you made, because a lot of times I've been speaking to different forums or different industry folks. I said the academia needs to be industry ready. I think the government with the new NEP policy, I think, they want a lot of changes that are going to come. But before I jump on to the continuation of this question, I want Mr. Ajay to take this question, Dr. Ajay to take this question. What are the challenges, that you're going to see to retain talent, especially in healthcare industry?
Retention of talent, here I think break it up into two parts. One is I'm talking of the clinical talent, the doctors and nurses, and then we'll talk of the other technicians and others as a separate group. For doctors and nurses, the way the system goes, particularly for junior doctors, healthcare has been a very feudal system in which the junior doctors have to they have a lot of learning to do from the senior doctors, and the kind of clinical exposure or the exposure to clinical work that they get tends to vary a lot depending on that individual person. So since there's such a large subjective element in this, uh, the younger guys, as they start feeling that they're learning something or whatever, they tend to look out. So it comes down to a lot of behavioral aspects as to how is the person behaving with them, how is he really teaching them. And I think that's one of the ways that we will need to learn. Our senior guys will need to learn this. Secondly, the thing is that there is a large learning curve for clinical work. And that is something I think we don't see in any other industry. The long clinical work means a person gets, Balaji spoke about an average age of 27. For us, an average age of 40 to 45 is when we say somebody is really good at his field, because he's had the experience, he's had the learning, he's undergone 12 to 13 years of actual academic learning, following which he's needs a few years to get become an expert at his field. So that
I'll walk you through,
learning
Dr.
curve
Ajay.
is something that goes, that's why people actually tend to go a lot, is for that learning, to become experts at the field, and then they settle down somewhere. Okay, yeah.
Dr. Ajay, if you can pause there, I'll go back, more specific related to the IT industry. Mr. Balaji, you've been constantly saying that, reskilling, upskilling, there's a talent supply gap, but how are you managing, offer to joining ratios? How are you managing fake CVs? How are you managing moonlighting? And how are you managing, plagiarism in the industry? What steps you're doing? I think you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So let's break it into those 2 or 3 elements, right? The first element of, how are we managing, the hiring process by itself? That's where we have used most of, experts, like yourself and some of the other platforms, for us to make sure that we are able to filter the profiles effectively. We have signed up with at least 2 or 3 different platforms, depending upon the skills and the expertise that we need for, for different technologies, for them to do an online assessment of the technology capability before we get down to, actually selecting the candidate. And all these other elements of making sure the identity is protected, with careful process of making sure that there is a video, there is ID validations before they take on that online assessment and all those kind of elements. But still, whatever you do, end of the day, there is still an element of, these issues which keeps cropping up, and it impacts it. This is not just the question of the costs that it takes for us to filter through these pieces. The more important element is that you're actually putting some of these guys in front of the customers and for delivering the customers' projects as well. So it impacts our credibility and also, the long-term view of how you need to look at, some of these profiles. The plagiarism, the challenges of fake CVs. Fake CVs, I would say, is not something which is new now, but it's just that it's probably
rampant.
It's become more rampant than what it used to be earlier. But those are things which I think the technology industry have managed to filter out even in the past. The challenge right now is the plagiarism or the proxies, during the interview process or during the assessment process. And the other challenge is the moonlighting part. Moonlighting, we are also learning as the industry is learning in trying and figuring out multiple sources from where we can identify this. But some of this is also the question of whom you hire and the culture or the ethics that people come with, right? So there are certain things which you can teach. I had actually commented in one of the other forums as well. So you can actually teach a skill to anybody, but you can't, teach ethics and will. That has to come from within at this age. At least after the 25 years age, you can't go and tell them what ethics means, because that's something which has to come from within.
Yeah, I mean, it has to come from inside your upbringing and things like that.
So yeah, we are managing it. I would say that if our offer to join ratio earlier was 90%. It's probably at around 65% right now, which impacts both from an, how you manage your bench. Because if you have such a low offer to join ratio, then obviously you need to provide two offers.
Is that also because a lot of job opportunities for the candidates? Do you think that that's one of the reasons?
Yeah, the opportunities are plenty. The other problem is that, many of these cases, partially we have to blame ourselves as well. So everybody has the 3 months notice period and other stuff. So the guy goes ahead and quits the organization with one offer, but he doesn't want to join that offer for sure, because this is only a boarding pass to get other offers. So
I think having said that, I'll give a minute to both of you to reflect upon, because the industry is growing. I still maintain the narrative of what the industry bodies have said, or what our digital employment outlook report has said, saying that 5 million jobs are going to move to 10 million. The overall hiring looks good for next 12 months or 24 months. Having said that, we being a contractual hiring company, how do you think, Dr. Ajay, contract hiring or temp hiring within the healthcare industry is going to increase? And next, Balaji, you can also take this question, saying that how it's going to really increase in the IT industry. Over to you, Mr. Ajay.
For healthcare contract workers, fortunately, healthcare has a concept of continuity of care. So if we have people and if we can retain them, it actually ends up in better care being provided to patients. Contract workers typically are generally for the doctors. It is more of I would say, just to ensure that a better, you keep the cost down, overheads down by not taking people on roll. That's one of the reasons why people do it. And secondly, obviously, with contracts, you're letting people take a little more at the end of the day. The take home increases. That's the only reason why it's done. It's not taken as a strategy or as a way to deal with to take people on board or whatever. That's not how it has generally been looked at in healthcare.
Your view, Mr. Balaji, do you think the contracting is going to increase by percentage, by numbers in India? Because that's where everybody is talking. Very recently, I've been to one of the largest services companies leadership summit, and they're talking about moving from 2% from their existing numbers. So what is your take on this? And in your organizations, are you increasing this trend so that you have business continuity?
Yeah, so two parts to it. One is the one which you talked about, 5 million to 10 million jobs. In my opinion, that itself is conservative. In my opinion, it should be even more than 1 million. If
you're going to change my annual budgets.
So I see a lot more opportunity. If you were to look at even the graduate hiring numbers of what some of these large corporations have published, even for a company of our size, when we are saying that we are going to hire 1,000, 1,200 people from the campuses, and when the TCS and the Cognizants and others, they themselves are talking about almost a 300,000 to 400,000 campus hires in the last 1 year. So I think that 1 million number itself is certainly conservative. It certainly has much more potential than that, given the kind of demand that we are seeing in the market, and given everything is moving towards technology adaptation rather than the traditional way of doing the SDLC kind of software development life cycles. The second element of contract hiring, I would say I would split the contract hiring into two parts. One is the traditional contract hiring of where we, for our peaks and troughs, manage that particular workflow or workforce model to manage the peaks through the contract hiring model, which is something which I think the industry has been doing for a fairly long time. Earlier, for us also, it used to be less than 5%. At this particular point of time, we are close to around 8 to 9%, and we expect that to be in the 10% range, at least for the next 2 years. So we have little over 4,500 people in India, and close to around 350 people are through hiring contracts. And we see that trend will continue to be in that same range, 8 to 10%, from the earlier 4 or 5% range. But there is also another genre which we think is going to grow as well, which has not taken off so much in India for the knowledge-intensive industries. It's the gig economy, and I would say that the gig workers, if not immediately, over the next couple of years, given the kind of supply, demand, and the moonlighting kind of experiences, where if you go to a gig platform, moonlighting is legal. There is really nothing wrong with that. So I think
But do you think we're still a year or 2 years away from it in terms of?
I think we are at least a year away from that, but I think that is something which will catch up as well.
So I think my question to Dr. Ajay in continuation, that while you are saying that within the healthcare industry, specific to paramedics or medical staff, it's not a kind of a strategy, but it's a business continuity plan. But I think your industry is very specific and flush with opportunities, and a lot of today organizations are doing diversity hiring and inclusive hiring. Do you see that trend in healthcare industry?
Diversity, and I think that's a trend that is increasing. It has not taken a major leap in healthcare, because there are some implications on people who are directly in contact with patients and for the others. But for a lot of the back-end work, we are seeing a tremendous increase in diversity and people with various challenges getting into the workforce. I think it's a good trend, and I think it's something that is here to stay.
Mr. Balaji, what's your view? Have you increased? I mean, today I know organizations are saying that 0.5% of the workforce should be a diversity or physically challenged or inclusive hiring, what today we call, or differently abled personalities that we could really call them. So have you made a strategic roadmap for it, which is that some X percentage of your staff is going to be from that category? And I'll just take a continuation, just cropped up my mind. If you made the strategy, how are you ensuring that you meet those targets?
Yeah, so see, gender diversity is something which I think has been there for a while now. Everybody has been practicing it, and we all talk about, should it be 35%, should it be 40%? So we also have our targets, and we are not driven by just target. Technology industry has been relatively from that, relatively less gender bias, and now with the kind of remote working options that are available, it's even more easier for us to attract the right kind of diversity talent as well. So gender diversity is not something which is not something new. The challenge with the gender diversity is that as you scale up or as you go up,
I'm more specific to the LGBT community or.
Yeah, so that's what. So gender diversity is not a problem. The
Okay.
other diversity, whether it is differently abled or whether it's the sexual orientation or any of those kind of elements, I would say it's still early days. The differently abled is something which everybody is practicing. We also practice. We also have a few of our colleagues and team members, from who probably would have some physical challenges, but the kind of productivity that we see or the ability that we see is phenomenally higher. And that's something which we have a focused team who is looking at where we could utilize their services effectively without calling it as, we don't want to call that a CSR, and we don't call it a CSR even at this particular point of time within our organization, and doesn't have anything to do with CSR either. Because it's a business decision for us rather than a CSR decision. Sort of. But the other sexual orientation, another piece, I would say that India is still far behind. I used to manage teams in my previous organization in Philippines and in Costa Rica and multiple other geographies where people are open and they don't really have any hesitation in saying that what orientation that they come from. But in India, we are still far behind.
Yeah, I mean, with the law getting approved pretty recently, I'm sure they will have.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully,
there will be a lot of acceptance in the industry. But I think
in healthcare, the surprising thing is that where gender equality goes, we always considered nurses to be women. What is really surprising, and I think it's a good trend, is surprising number of men taking up nursing as a profession. And we are starting to see a lot of hospitals actually take men in the nursing profession. It's something I think that is good. It's really a good trend that we are seeing.
But let's just stay on the discussion, because I mean, you guys are industry veterans. We've been facing, I mean, there are areas where we could hire a lot of LGBT, but especially on physically able people, we're still finding a challenge. Do you see that trend still, Mr. Balaji or Dr. Ajay?
For the, like I said, for people actively involved in patient care, physical challenges are a real challenge in looking after patients. So there's some place where we are not really seeing too many people. For the back-end processes, that is some place where, yes, things are open and organizations are getting more and more open to the idea of, I mean, it's no longer a reason to dismiss a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it's coming up. It's something in a good way. No organization, I think, takes it up as a target. But coming up with a disability is no longer a cause for rejection of the candidate. It's taken on other merits.
Absolutely. If at all there is any reason for us to differentiate, it's only because of ethics and integrity, not because of anything else.
So before we jump on to the last set of questions, I know we are crossing the Q&A session. I've been getting a lot of questions on my WhatsApp. Before we jump there, what do you think, Mr. Balaji, first to you, and then I will have the Q&A starting. One last question: what are the key digital skills that will uptake in the future, and what are the key areas?
The first one would primarily be around the data sciences piece in terms of understanding of data, analyzing the data, interpreting the data. So primarily the data skills. The second one would be the development, particularly in the latest technologies like your mean stack, MERN stack, full stack development. These are, I think, would probably be key digital skills from a non-domain perspective.
Fair enough. So I think first set of questions coming from a lot of professionals is that what's your view on work from home or hybrid working model is going to continue or not?
I would say the technology industry has been relatively lucky, so to say, because we could afford to work from home or remote working, so to say. But having said that, it has its own negative impacts as well. I'm sure there's a direct correlation to what Dr. Ajay's profession does, because
being a group head and CEO, you yourself are coming to office. So
yeah, there are certain things which are old school as well, right? So there are certain things which the gray hair tells you to do as well. So, but apart from that, I would say that it gives us a lot of flexibility, but it also brings in a different kind of challenge, particularly the work-life balance issues, the mental health related challenges of working from home, not having a definition of what is work and what is life, beyond a certain stage. So, I would say that it has to be a hybrid rather than, and it's important when you're just an individual working for a particular project, it's fine. But when you're actually working as a team, it also is important for you to, work with the team as well. So I think the hybrid is what we are proposing, and that's the model that we are going to be moving ahead with. The way we are looking at it is that get at least a couple of days in a week in office, and the remaining provide the flexibility. But it's also driven by the projects that they're working on, what kind of client controls that we have. The client is okay with, the most important element is around the data, and of course the moonlighting element as well, for the same guy to work with two different projects.
So one question, I think it's popping up on the screen before I go to the WhatsApp questions. Anybody can answer this. How agri-industry will be able to take the technology forward, where we are today as far as data consolidation is concerned, and it is basically rural and farmer oriented. What can be done to bring better utilization of IT in the farming industry?
I would say that, there is a lot of work that has been done. I'm part of one of these Government of India, panels as well, along with the Economic Times, technology group. And one of the key elements is to look at what can be done in the farming sector. And it's surprising to see the amount of data that is available, the amount of information that's available, but how it is getting utilized and how it is getting communicated, to the last mile is where the challenges are. And I think there has been a lot of progress on how that particular industry is growing from a technology adaptation perspective. We do have challenges of trying, and and there is a lot. I'm sure I may not. I hope I am not crucified for saying this in this forum. But the agri industry also is very political as well. So you need to be very careful on what is it that you are able to do in that particular industry and how you are able to impact the end farmer, because that's a very significant and potent vote bank as well. So. But there is significant amount of work that's being done there, and farmer is not or the end farmer is not the challenge in rolling out the technology development, because there are easier ways of getting it done. There are so many vernacular options available. So I don't think it's the lack of technology understanding of the farmer which is impacting.
Dr. Ajay, one question for you is that, how a common man can be informed with the current healthcare advancements?
I think in this day of social media, a lot of advancements are in any case coming up, but to really get correct, factual and technically correct information, one generally does need to be a member of certain groups or certain societies, and that is one way that you can be aware of whatever technological advances are going on.
Mr. Balaji, one question that has come to you is that, with a lot of projects getting to agile, moving the entire SDLC cycle, changing or evolving over a period of time, and the DevOps process getting changed, how are the project advancements, or the budgetings that are going to come within the industry?
See, I would say that the agile, way of implementing, the projects is primarily around, making it faster, cheaper, and better. That's the whole purpose of moving into agile.
But our costs are still significantly going up.
But if you were to look at it, I would say that if you look at the absolute cost, maybe it is going up. But if you look at it from a cost effectiveness or as a return on investment or the effectiveness of project rollouts, I would still say that the jury is still out. So in some projects it is very good, but it's a question of where you adopt agile. It's not that when you know what needs to be done, when you know what the outcome is expected, going into an agile mode is only sometimes it only for the paper or only to show that I'm doing agile. But there are certain projects which require to be done in agile mode, where you probably don't have the final end output. You know what you want to deliver, but you don't know how to get that delivered. That's where the agile mode becomes very effective. So it's a combination of both, in my opinion. From where we see it at this particular point of time, I think at least 50 to 60% of the projects will move into an agile mode from the current mode, whatever Gartner says, 22%, 23% kind of number.
Yeah, but just to stay on the sync up, because I know we're short of time, we just 1 minute to conclude. But see, there are a lot of technology advancements across healthcare or different industries that is happening outside India, while India has got, it's, as our chairman says, it's having pregnant of opportunities. But I think a lot of technologies are not coming to the Indian market as yet. Do you still feel that my statement is right?
No, I don't think so, because at least having dealt with, if I look at the industry that where we have worked with us, finance, at least the banking and the financial services industry, the kind of technology advancement that we have seen in India is something which many of them have not seen it elsewhere. Even now people are talking about UPI and the RTGS 24/7 and all those kinds of services is something which some of the larger countries are not even able to dream of as yet. So I would say that in some cases, we may be lagging, particularly the farm and food processing industry or manufacturing industry. But there are some industries where we are far ahead as well.
Do you second that thought, Dr. Ajay?
Absolutely. Where banking is concerned, absolutely. Banking, I think even logistics and things like that, I think we are at par anywhere else. And actually, even in healthcare, certain things we are doing, we are at par with the best centers in the world. I see no.
All right. So I think, thank you so much, gentlemen. I think this session had been really informative. Look forward to talk to you again. And I really thank Mr. Balaji and Dr. Ajay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for people who have joined in. Have a good day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, Balaji. Nice meeting you guys. And thank all the audience who patiently listened to us.
Thank you so much.